I think the first thing I want to say is thank you, Mike. He is still here. Hi, Mike. Thank you for giving us a shout out earlier. That's awesome. Very much appreciate that. And Mike actually mentioned a project by a guy called Rupert, who's not here today. But the PDF importer, that's actually on GitHub. It's open source. So if anybody wants to do that, then wants to have a look at that, then it's actually available. We seem to have an issue with presentation because that is not displaying. Let me try with Google Slides, maybe.
That PDF import is actually available on Drupal.org. We've moved everything from GitHub.
So yeah, this talk's really going to be, we've sort of presented it as LocalGov Drupal France because that's what we're doing, but it's also about like how you can take the LocalGov Drupal project and potentially other distributions as well and internationalize them and use them in other territories. So it's going to be a bit of history, it's going to be a bit of governance, and then a bit of the tech behind it as well. So let's start with who we are. Over to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Mark. I'm the Managing Director of The Confident, which is an agency focused exclusively on working with LocalGov Drupal and for either local government, national government, or universities. I'm also the front-end lead of the LocalGov Drupal codebase. I'm also on the board of directors of the Open Digital Cooperative, which is the custodians of the LocalGov Drupal codebase and community. I'm also a Drupal core maintainer for Stable 9. I'm also a Drupal core maintainer for Umami, Profile and Team. And since yesterday, I'm Drupal core maintainer for the markup system, I think. I'm quite invested in Drupal. Who are you, Greg?
My CV suddenly feels really small. I'm Greg. I've been using Drupal for about 15 years, maybe longer. And I am the director and Monsieur le Président, the Code Enigma SAS. I forgot my aviators today, maybe next time. So what is a Drupal distribution? If you are Drupal users, you probably know the answer to that already. The Netherlands guys were talking about recipes earlier, which is kind of like components that you can install. Distributions kind of is a precursor to that because the LocalGov Drupal project is older than recipes. So it's actually packaged as a distribution. But what it allows us to do is actually put a load of software together for a specific use case. So there's loads of examples of distributions out there. We've got a few up here. We've got OpenSocial from the Netherlands. I don't know if anybody's here from OpenSocial or anybody uses OpenSocial, but that's a great distribution. Hi. So we implemented that for the UK government for the Office for National Statistics. Next to that, we've got Opinio, which is an LMS, which is pretty cool. There's Open Intranet, which has been made in Poland, I believe. And then we've got a couple of other examples around. I learned this morning about the Dutch system. There's the Australian system, which is quite famous that we got up there. And the Greenwich example is LocalGov Drupal, which is the one that we're going to talk about a bit more. So what is LocalGov Drupal? And how did it start? Initially, it began as a single website for a London borough called Croydon, which people who went to DrupalCon London will probably be familiar with because it was in Croydon. So they were, basically they had a guy called Will Callahan, who was their project manager. He was an external contractor. He came in, built a website for Croydon, finished the job, went off to Brighton and Hove, another city south of London, and they asked him for a website, and their specification was almost the same. And Will went, hang on a second, this is crazy. And he actually convinced Croydon and Brighton and Hove to talk to each other about sharing what they'd done and actually about collaborating and actually having a web platform that could be reusable rather than just everybody building the same website over and over, right? And much to his surprise and delight, they agreed to do that. And that was the beginning of LocalGov Drupal, which has now grown into a centrally funded distribution of Drupal, which is used by hundreds and hundreds of websites now. Literally hundreds, and I think we're now officially on 70 plus towns and councils and prefecture or canton or whatever you call them in your country. We've got loads of them now. So the governance is really interesting as well because actually the councils are still leading on the feature development. So Mark mentioned Open Digital Cooperative. We've got Finn as well, the provider of awesome t-shirts. He is also an Open Digital Cooperative. Grab those guys later if you want to talk about the governance of how it works. But the councils are still leading. And so that's really nice. So here's a few examples of websites that have been built with LocalGov Drupal. We've got Croydon and Brighton, obviously. Couldn't not put those guys in. We've also got Hammersmith that we work with, North Yorkshire, and a recent project that Mark and I have been working on is Colchester. The reason I'm showing you this kind of spread of councils is for those that aren't familiar, some of these municipalities are very small, and some of them are very big, and they have quite different needs and quite different populaces, but they're all using the same base distribution. Because it's very flexible and it's a great starting point for any municipality. Because we all have the same challenges, right? We all have like social care, refuse, administration, tourism, parking issues, environment. All the towns, all the municipalities that we work with, they're all solving the same problems in every country, everywhere. So why are we doing this over and over and over again, right? I've gone too far. There we go. So we hope, and we hope that you agree, that LocalGov Drupal can be a base for all municipalities, actually. It has a huge advantages. It's already there, available, translated into many different languages. Translations of the interface are done as well, so your administrators can already work in their native language. Obviously, with the Drupal theming system, you've got an unlimited amount of possibilities into how you can do the look and feel of things. As Mike mentioned earlier today, accessibility, we're aiming for that high bar right out of the box and looking ahead as well. And loads of pre-built components. And as we said, we've got literally hundreds of websites out there. So this is a proven model. Like, this is working in the United Kingdom and Ireland. This is happening. So I am going to hand over to Mark, who will talk a little bit about how we made LocalGov Drupal for France, which is very new, by the way. It sort of came out of the packet about 2 weeks ago. So
I don't like the idea of this is as simple as 1, 2, 3, but I couldn't come up with something more clever. And I think we've done a really good job of making LocalGov Drupal France as simple as 1, 2, 3. So it is as simple as install LocalGov Drupal itself, so you'll get the English version of it. Then install the LocalGov Drupal France module, and that will do its thing in terms of removing English and setting French as the language and some other bits and pieces. I'll talk about that in the next slide. And then install the LocalGov Drupal France theme. So then you'll have a website that looks the same as the DSFR, the design system of France. If you're a coder or a hacker, you could edit the module that we wrote and change FR to ES for Spanish, or GA for Guelga, or NL for Netherlands, or whatever you want, and then you'll get the whole thing in your own language. I'll move him along, Greg, it's okay.
Yeah.
So what happens when you enable, oh, Greg, you've got a different version than I have of the presentation.
Oh.
I added a new point a moment ago. So first off, we had started making this as its own installation profile. But if we do that, then we've got to maintain all the features or the base features ourselves. And if LocalGov Drupal ever has a new feature that's part of the base profile of LocalGov Drupal, we won't get it unless we duplicate that code. So we changed that and we made it into a module. So, and that's why you've got the 3-step process that you install the English version first. So we get every single thing that is available in LocalGov Drupal, we get, and we will always get, because we're now just an addition to it as opposed to a replacement of it. Then what we'll do is we will install French as a language, then we'll set French as the default language, and then we remove English as a language. So French becomes the default language of your distribution, or if you use Dutch or if you use Irish or something like that, that would become the default language. It's not a multilingual website. You don't have French and English. You have French only, or you will have German only, or you will have Spanish only. And then if you decide you want it to be a multilingual website, you can add on more languages. So English then will become a second language rather than the primary language. The admin interface, as Greg mentioned, is translated as well. So that's thanks to the Drupal community from localize.drupal.org. Everything that's available in Drupal that's translated into French will be translated into French for LocalGov Drupal France as well. We don't have every part of LocalGov Drupal itself translated. I was translating it, but I was using ChatGPT, so it has maybe 2,000 strings translated into French, but they are ChatGPT translations. And je ne parle pas le français since school. So I'm not sure if the translations are correct or not. So we need help with the translations, let's say. And then the patterns from the DSFR, the design system of France. What we've done is our base distribution is based on the GovUK design system. So we've looked at what's in DSFR that we can map to the GovUK system. So we're actually still using the same underlying components as GovUK, but we're using the CSS properties of DSFR. So if you look at the screenshot here, we got some blues. There's maybe 10 different blues on DSFR and maybe 10 different reds and 10 different greens. We've just taken one from each of them. So we've taken the blue from the actual logo of the DSFR and the red from the logo. So we don't have the whole suite, but we've applied the DSFR to how LocalGov Drupal works. Let's see what's on the next slide. Here's where we are at the moment. So this is just a homepage that we put together. And you can see that this is radically different to what we saw with Croydon and what we saw with Colchester and what we saw with all of the other ones. So this is just the logo on the top left. The name Flow, that's changeable, that's your site name. And then we've got a different menu system with our services with a drop down. We've got a hero banner, and then we've got, these are called tiles in the DSFR, and they're called box links in LocalGov Drupal. So in LocalGov Drupal, we still have the box link namespace underlying it, but we've called them tiles so that people using the DSFR will understand what they're working with. And then the next slide, or next image on the right-hand side, that's just some cards. And you can see the design pattern of those cards is almost identical to the design pattern of the tiles up above it. And we've continued that throughout what we have in LocalGov Drupal. So some things in LocalGov Drupal we have that don't exist in the DSFR. So on the left-hand side, we've got what's called a step-by-step. This is part of the GovUK design system. So if you need to apply for a blue badge for disabled parking, there's certain things you must do and a certain order you must do them in. So we've left this component in, but we've applied the design system from DSFR. So it will still follow the DSFR design principles, even though it's not an actual official component of DSFR. And the same then on the right-hand side, that's just some teasers from a news listing page. Greg?
Yeah, back to me, except my microphone's dead. There we go. Yeah, so how can you chip in? Well, firstly, I'd like to say, sorry, no, I'm going to do this. We have our first contributor. Thank you very much. We've got somebody already has been working on demo content for LocalGov Drupal in French. So that's awesome. Other people can join in. Mark mentioned localize.drupal.org. If you're not familiar with that, get in there, register yourself with your language. You can translate any string in any module. And this work is being published on Drupal.org, therefore it is available on localize.drupal.org. Therefore anyone can jump in and translate a string in the interface in the front end. And also the exciting thing about that is if you're looking at this and thinking, oh, this would be cool for my country, the same model applies, right? You can just jump into localize.drupal.org and start translating the interface into your language and just roll out LocalGov Drupal for your country. In terms of finding out more, we have now a French website, was launched last week. The UK website has been going for a lot longer and has a lot more information. So if you speak English or read English, then that's probably a better location to go to. The module and the theme are on Drupal.org and translatable, please. Otherwise, if you want to get in touch, find out more, you've got my email address, Mark's email address, and if you want a demo, just drop us a line. We'll very happily spin it up for you if you don't have the ability to do that yourself. Otherwise, obviously, it works with all the usual tools. You can spin it up in DDev or something pretty easily, just to kick the tires, as they say. And that's it. It's lunchtime. Thank you.